This video is going to be a lot of fun. I want to show you guys how to create dramatic looking portraits, well, with just natural light. Let's dive in. My name is Pi, and I'm one of the founders of Lynn and Jersa Photography and SLRLounge.com. We're teaming up with Adorama to bring you a new series of photography tutorials called Master Your Craft right here on Adorama TV. So let's dive in. The first two steps are going to be in-camera steps. So the first thing that I really want to look for is I want to find a background that's fairly dark compared to the light that's going to be landing on our subjects. Okay, so here's exactly what I mean. I want to find that dark background, and what I have here is this kind of dark column where our window light is entering from this left side. So all we have is kind of this opening. This works perfectly if you have window light, if you have overhangs like this. We just want a directional light that's gonna land on our subjects and make them brighter than the background. So step number two is gonna be to get our subjects into that light and get them posed in position before we jump over to the camera for step three. And we're gonna include this all the way through post-production. So we got this dialed in. We're even gonna get you some exercise files with this one. So Brooke and Barry, they're gonna be my Love Me models. They're gonna jump in. Okay, come forward. Now, Barry, I want you to stack behind Brooke onto this side. I want you to kind of hug into her. And I want you guys almost to be kind of facing and kind of paying attention like outside. So this nice light is kind of landing on them. And what you guys can see from the camera side is that we have that separation. Now what we're doing, this is referred to as basically chiaroscuro, right? So chiaroscuro is basically using light and dark to kind of chisel out your subjects, right? So we're kind of doing a little light play, and you can see that the background is quite a bit darker. Now the reason we want this is when we get this in the post, we want their skin tones into this highlight range, right? So we're kind of creating a separation so that we can easily control this in post. So with our light figured out, we kind of have our background, we know what we're doing. Step two, we position our subjects. Now we're gonna go to step three. We're gonna start dialing our settings in camera. I have a Sigma 50 on there right now. This is a Sigma Art 50mm. You can use really any lens for this. You could use your iPhone if you wanted to. You'll get the exact same effect, the exact same look. But what we're gonna do is go ahead and bring up live view and let's get an exposure reading. Okay, so what we're gonna do right now is, well, I like the exposure that we're getting here, and we can see that we already have that nice separation between the background. I do want to bump my aperture a little bit, maybe to f2, maybe to f2.8, because I do want them to be a little bit on the, I want the image to be a little bit soft and have a little bit of depth to it, but I don't want so much that Barry is going to be blurred out and Brooke is going to be in focus. So I'm going to just go to like f2, f2.8, those are going to be totally fine. We'll go ahead and drop the shutter speed a bit, and I'm going to bring this up to actually f2.8, and we'll go to ISO 200. Looking at the histogram, we have a really dialed in histogram. So their skin tones are up in this region right here, and that's perfect because the background is nicely separated. Now all I need to do is really cue the action right and shoot. So we have our ambient dialed in. We have this light, it's already modified for us. We're just positioning them in a spot that looks good. Now we're going to take our shot, and we've already got that chiaroscuro lighting effect in the image. Brooke, chin up a little bit, right there. And then look down to the shoulder, kind of smile. You can shrug the shoulder a little bit, give him a little flirt. I don't know what that means. Give him a little flirt, like does that have a, yeah, there you go. I like that interpretation. Cute. So now I'm just gonna get a little bit wider, and I love doing this. I love using that wide, medium, tight. We'll talk about that in a different video, but once I have them set up, I'm gonna kind of look at the scene and kind of look for these other wider angles where we can kind of create negative space, leading lines, and I have that from this angle. So Barry, hug into her right there. There you go, beautiful. I love that. Shrug the shoulder down a little bit and kind of like smile. There it is, beautiful. Gorgeous, guys. So what we end up getting here is just these images that really already have that great separation. We have a lot of good negative space. We have them framed in that bright area of our shot. We already have a really nice dramatic image. Now we're gonna take it into post because I actually want to use dark mode for these images. And I'll even show you a couple other examples as well on how dark mode can really help to make these images even more dramatic, even more chiaroscuro. No, that's not how that works, but we'll just go to post. So now we're in a post. This is a great time to pause the video, go download the 2 exercise files that we're gonna be working through, and let's go ahead and dive in. I'm gonna be using techniques previously from our dark mode video in Mastering Your Craft. So if any of this is confusing, in fact, if you haven't seen that video, I'd highly recommend you go check it out because we're gonna teach you how to create essentially the presets that we're gonna utilize here, the dark mode presets, the quick dodging presets. But let's go ahead and build upon that, because what this tutorial was is really how to shoot for dark mode. It's how to use chiaroscuro lighting, how to get your subjects, even when using natural light, to get the highlights on their face against darker backgrounds, right? So let's go ahead and dive in, because the beauty of this technique is the following. Now, we've already created that dark mode preset over here, so let's assume that you haven't yet watched it. The beauty of this is being able to pull down exposure. So I'm going to pull it down to, like, say, negative 2.5-ish. I'm going to raise blacks all the way to 100. And this is where the fun comes in, because I can actually use my highlights to start painting in on the subjects, and I can balance to say, this is where I want the background to be. And then from right here, I go, okay, I want to pull the whites down because the whites of the shirt are a little bit strong. But now I'm going to grab my brush. We're going to go ahead and get that quick dodge and lift brush. This is, again, that brush that we created in that last tutorial. So if you don't have it, pause the video, well, dial this in first, and then go back and watch the other video so you can save this preset out and have it, because this is one that's huge. A lot of testing and development have gone into that preset. So go ahead and just paint this over your subjects. And literally what you're doing is just painting light right over the highlights. Okay, now I can press new and I can add another layer just over the faces. From here, I can simply add additional contrast, tweak my white balance a little bit, dial down the whites a little bit, and you get to a really nice kind of dark edit and a clean look to the image by just really doing some basic settings and basic adjustments. Now watch this. So very quickly went from this to this. Now, I want to take this a step further, because I'm going to show you now, we're going to reset this out, we're going to create a new virtual copy. I want to show you how you can use your existing presets with this technique. So, well, first, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of show off our latest preset. This is Visual Flow Crush. This is one that is, at the time of releasing this, it might be out just barely or coming out soon. But this is designed to get to a poppy look. And the way that we design these is based on profiles and then lighting condition based development. So that way when you click it, it literally dials everything in for you. So when I click this, I'm getting exposure adjustments and everything needed to essentially finish the image in a single click. And those adjustments are brought into the tone curve based on statistical averaging. So from here, all a user has to do is just dial down the exposure a little bit, choose the right white balance. This preset actually adds a little bit of warming to skin tones, so that way you can cool the image and get more deep blues in the background. Okay, and you just tweak your exposure and contrast as desired. So I'm going to go right here. So here we have, in a single click, going from that to this with a couple minor adjustments to exposure, contrast, and getting our white balance. Now, this could be any preset. You can use any look that you'd like, but what we're going to do is combine that now in conjunction with dark mode. So you're going to select your dark mode brush preset or your dark mode tweak preset that we saved out in that last video. Again, if you don't have it, all we're doing is bringing exposure down. We're raising the highlights, we're leaving white point, we're raising the shadows a bit, and we're raising blacks all the way. Now from here, I'm going to do the exact same thing. So I'm going to balance the whites a little bit by pulling it down. I'm going to bring the highlights. Actually, the highlights are pretty good. I just want to bring the overall exposure up a little bit. Now I'm going to use that exact same quick dodge and lift brush and paint right over their faces. Now I can go right onto the hair as well, and watch this. This is the fun part about this. I can paint their entire body, paint everything. Okay, I don't have to get this super precise. Why? Because again, in that last video we learned that we can basically just mask this easily in a couple different ways. There's two easy ways: turn on auto mask and just remove it, or we can turn on range mask, select luminance, and tell Lightroom I don't want to apply this effect to anything that's in a shadow. Again, this is where the benefit of this, utilizing this chiaroscuro lighting comes into play, is we can easily pull things off areas that we don't want to affect on our image. So what I'm going to do is pull this back to maybe like 10 to 20. I'm going to leave the shadows a little more dark. I'm also going to add a little bit more smoothing to it so it makes the transitions a little more smooth. I'm also going to turn on auto mask while holding down the alter option button. So what that does is selects my eraser tool. Now turn on auto mask, and now you can quickly and easily bring that feathered edge up and over just to paint off any remaining amounts in the background. Okay, very easily now Lightroom can go and detect and actually do a very nice refined mask. So if I press O and you look at this mask now, it's actually really, really nice, very accurate. I'm going to turn that off and just paint along the outside to make sure nothing along the outside is unaffected. Okay, so from here, I'm going to add a burn. So we're going to go ahead and do an exposure burn. I'm going to drop that right over my subjects. I'm going to pull it in. And now I can brighten the overall image just a little bit more to right about here. Okay, so very quickly, we've gone from this kind of brighter crush look to this essentially dark mode crush look, okay? And from there, we could change the white balance a little bit. Like I could warm it just a little bit if I wanted to. I kind of like things a little bit on the warmer side. But compare that to, again, we had this kind of standard version with no basis of preset, just kind of dialing in those settings. I really like the way that it pops against the blues, and that look really brings out the blue of the background. So from here, I would say, you know, pick one of these styles. It doesn't matter which one you like better. I'm going to go with the brighter style. And all that was just the crush preset, right? So what I'm going to do is take this wider shot, okay? And we're going to do that the exact same way. So I'm going to apply the look, okay? And one click, we get to this place. Now I'm going to go down here and we're going to go to transform. And I like to finish out my scenes by making sure everything is uniform within those scenes. So look, right now it's having a hard time trying to detect the lines. So I'm just going to turn them off all the way. What I'm going to do is just flip the vertical up a little bit and constrain, okay? I'm trying to get these lines to be perfectly straight up and down. And we can get there, it just takes a little finagling, okay? That one click is actually pretty solid in terms of getting the vertical lines all lined up. That's really nice. Okay, so from right here, I'm going to bring the exposure down, add in a little more contrast, and I'm going to call that good. So now, the way that I love editing and shooting is shooting in this storytelling format. So I love to kind of storytell, and I go wide, medium, tight. I go wide to set the scene, medium to kind of establish, get a little bit closer to our subject, and then tight, like the shot on the right, to really kind of getting close to the emotion. So when you put these together, they just make for these beautiful layouts and albums and blog spreads, and you have really great color and tone that matches throughout. So hopefully from start to edit, you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, I'd love for you to give it a thumbs up. Let us know what you guys would like to see next on the Adorama TV channel. I read a lot of those comments just to see and get ideas on what y'all want to see. So let me know if you guys liked what you guys saw in terms of the presets. You guys can check that out at vfpresets.com. My name is Pi, and I'll see you all in the next video.